The truth is that you are going to be hired for your specific voice. You don't need to call it networking if it freaks you out. You can call it just meeting people. And the photography industry is small, y'all. It is small. Everybody knows everyone.
Hello, and welcome back to F22, where we bring all things photography into focus. This show's brought to you by VSCO, as always, and in this episode, I'm talking with Martine Severin, who is a fascinating person. She's a very successful commercial and lifestyle photographer with 13 years of experience, and she's worked with clients like Uber, Goliath, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and HP, just to name a few. But she's also the host of the This Is How We Create podcast, the writer of the Creative Matters newsletter on Substack, also the chair of the APA Diversity Committee, also a Sony Alpha Female Grant recipient, and she's one of the artists who was featured at the VSCO Gallery at the Scope Art Show last year. And just for kicks, she's also got her master's in education policy and management from Harvard University. So Martine is an amazing person, and we had a wonderful conversation. I'm actually going to split this up into two pieces. So here in part one, we'll talk about how she got started. And I think for any of you who are starting your photography business or thinking about starting a photography business someday, this will be really helpful. Definitely cue in to this stuff. She drops some amazing bits of wisdom. And then in part two, we'll just talk more about her day-to-day, kind of how she runs her business. And there's some wonderful pieces of advice in there too. So without further ado, let's get into part one of my interview with Martine Severin. Awesome. Well, welcome to F22, Martine Severin. It is so awesome to have you here with us.
Hi, Zach. It's so good to be here.
Thank you. Just to get us started, just tell everybody who you are, where you are, the kind of work that you do, just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Martine Severin. I am a lifestyle photographer based in Chicago, Illinois. I am a photographer. I'm a podcaster at This Is How We Create podcast, and I write a weekly newsletter at Creative Matters, which is a newsletter that I have on Substack. So I do a lot of different things, but definitely photography is my main love.
Excellent. And what kind of photography do you shoot?
So I mainly do lifestyle. And
Okay.
I have to say that, Zach, it took me a long time to understand what that means because I got my master's in education policy. So I did not set out to become a photographer. This is a fluke that happened, but I'm glad that I followed the path. If you're okay, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, so what's the path? Tell us the story. How'd you become a photographer?
It is a very unlikely story. I fell in love with photography when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I think I remember saying specifically to myself, I'm going to do that. I didn't know what that was, but what I understood that was to convey emotions and to convey feeling from vast distances.
Yeah.
Now, this sounds really kind of odd. What do you mean, Martine? Well, I grew up in Haiti. And while growing up in Haiti, my mother, she had left our home country to come here to the US seeking better economic outcomes, so better life for us and to provide for us economically. And so I grew up pretty much without her. And I remember hanging out with my dad. We were in his bedroom and on his bedroom. And I don't know if your parents had this, Zach, where, they have all of the tchotchkes as well as photos of the kids and all the family members on a dresser. So,
yeah, a little bit.
And I'm standing there looking at all the tchotchkes of that was on his dresser. And I see a photo of this just really beautiful woman. And he's like, "Oh, that's your mom." And I was like, "I have a mother?" This is how much I didn't know that I actually had a mother. So fast forward, while she was in the US, we would send photos over to her. And always there would be this feeling of love and of protection and of security. And I just always found that to be very interesting, that someone who was thousands of miles away could communicate love. And as such, I always loved photography and I wanted to do that, to take photos. And I went through high school and college trying to take a photo class, but it never quite worked out until my senior
Hmm.
year in college. I did street photography in my hometown
Hmm.
of Boston,
Okay.
and the photos got picked up at a local paper, and then another local paper picked it up, and then
Hmm.
before you know it, like fast forward 2, 3 years, I was voted as one of Vogue's top emerging photographers. My work was featured in
Whoa.
Glamour magazine. I had J. Crew who wanted to work with me. I had Jay
Wow.
Brand who had me take photos, who sent me 25 pairs of jeans. Literally, they were like, and so that's how it happened. And the more opportunities came my way, the more I thought, well, I should probably be better and better at this. And so then
Hmm.
I started taking classes in photography, in lighting, in
Hmm.
posing, and all of that. And
Right.
eventually I was like, okay, so I have the chops and I want to be a commercial photographer. The next step will be to build my portfolio. If anyone is wondering how you become a professional photographer, the first step is to create a portfolio.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to create a portfolio. And I listened to this woman who's like, well, it'll take you about 2 years to create your portfolio. And I was like, I don't think so. Bump that. I'm
Oh.
going to do it like this. Zach, it took 2 years.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
It's hard because you don't know what you want to say. I'm telling you, like, wedding photography is such a great training ground because you
Oh
learn
man.
so much. You learn to make quick decisions. You learn to deal with difficult people. You
Yeah.
learn to deal with multiple lighting changes. And I just learned so much through doing however many
Man.
weddings. And
You got to
once,
be like the fourth person, maybe even more, to say that. And I've met. I mean, I was just at Imaging USA recently, and I heard that many times too, like over and over again. Just what a great training ground weddings are. I think they get a bad rap.
they
Although I mean,
do.
they're. I think the perception of it has really elevated a lot, even in the 20 years since I've been doing it. But it's hard. But if you can do weddings, I mean, you can do most things that involve people in photography.
Yes, and I think that I the secret for me is in terms of how I was able to build my portfolio. And you build your portfolio over several years. Honestly, I'm probably on my like sixth iteration of my portfolio. It's not
Yeah.
something that stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I found is that I use weddings to pay for building my portfolio,
Mm,
right? So I use
interesting.
weddings to like up and get better gear and to
Right.
do all of the things.
I want to hit the pause button for a second. So one of the things I noticed is you said you went from doing street photography to getting voted one of the top photographers and all these brands coming to you. And I feel like there's a big, I don't know, like a chapter skip there. Like how did that happen? How'd you go from I'm taking pictures
Yeah.
in Boston to I've got all these brands getting a hold of me?
Yes, it happened magically. It's not like now. So this was
Hmm.
back in the day when blogs were really big
Ah, okay, okay.
and everyone had a blog. And so I started a blog.
Oh.
And it was also during the time where there was a huge street style photography craze that was going
Uh-huh.
on.
Uh-huh.
In my market at the time, there was no one really doing this. There might have been two of us,
Yeah.
and we were doing really different things. And so, because it was just me in this tiny market, it just went like this. It was like
Hmm.
kindling to the fire. I'm grateful for that experience because I learned so much
Yeah.
about photography and I made so many connections. Was able to network and meet so many different people. I had the blog for about 5 years. On the weekends, I would do what I called style hunting, which is to go out and find people who are wearing really interesting things and talking with them and then writing a blog post about it. 52 times a year, I was
Wow.
posting and I was
Yeah.
writing as well. And when you do that consistently, people notice, right?
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
really easy for me. And I think people could do this even today. And the cheat code is your local paper wants to feature you.
Hmm.
A local
Okay.
paper wants to report on what's going on in your town. And even today, I think the same works, but to a different degree because you have to escape gravity in order to be
Yeah.
noticed. You have to do
Yeah.
something extraordinary to be noticed these days. And I think what I'm finding is the same thing is happening on Substack.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
my readership in Substack is growing at a crazy rate. And I'm
Mm,
just posting. I'm 38 weeks into posting weekly.
yeah. You're doing it
And
again.
yeah, I'm
The
doing it
new blog.
again. You're doing it again. And I think
Yeah.
like I kind of missed the boat on Instagram because I was just
Mm,
like, ugh, I don't like this thing. I'm not doing anything other than posting and taking the time to work on creative matters. But I think in January I had something like 42 subscribers. Now it becomes like a game to me. I'm like how many am I going to get today? And usually
yeah.
it's like it's at least 3 or 4 or 5.
I just want to close the loop on this kind of how you got started. So I guess it sounds like you were at school for something else entirely. I guess at what point were you able to say, you know what, I'm gonna go full time, not do this other job, and just be a
Sure.
photographer?
I decided that I was going to get my master's degree in education policy. And this is all because being an artist didn't seem like it was the safe thing to do. And I
Mm,
am the kind of person who's really strategic. I know that like by the age of 21, I was like, okay, I need to get my retirement fund set and I need to
wow.
do all of this stuff. So if we're going on a trip, on a road trip, I need to have all the destinations mapped. Apparently it's a Capricorn thing. If I'm doing my master's degree and I know I want to learn photography, then I think that this blog might be the perfect way to do it. All I
Mm,
have to do is go out for a few hours on a Saturday or a Sunday and take photographs. And hopefully after 3 to 5 hours of being out, I can come out with one. And all I needed was just one image. So
yeah.
I used that as an opportunity to sharpen
That's
my
cool.
skills. So I did that for 5 years. While doing that and while in school, in the summers, I approached a local photographer who was doing weddings and I asked her, "Hey, can I shadow you? Can I be your assistant?" And so
Mm.
she was like, "Okay." So I did a few weddings with her and I was awful. I was so bad. So it just takes it feels like this. So you start and you go
Yeah.
but you're really are awful, 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 awful before you can even get like
Yep.
decent.
Yep.
And so that's what I did. I practiced being really bad and I practiced being really bad for a number of years before I knew that I could even start creating my portfolio as a professional
Mm,
photographer. There was a big lifestyle change that happened for me where I had my first son and I went
mm,
on maternity leave. My husband got a job in London. So we go ahead and we moved to London. And while I was in London, then it became time to start thinking, okay, so what am I going to do for work? And it was at that time that I'm like, okay, so I'll work. But then at the same time, I really, really want to be a professional photographer.
mm.
I've said I'm going to dedicate the next 5 years to getting ready to become a professional photographer.
Wow.
And so from
And
there,
this is,
go ahead.
you've just had a newborn and you've just moved to a different country. And now you're also I'm amazed at this story. You are
Well, we
remarkable.
underestimate how much we can do
Mm,
in a year.
yeah.
Or
Yeah,
we
that's true.
overestimate it. Like everything that you do is just little steps. So all of this sounds like it's a lot, but all it is
Mm,
just getting one client going to do one shoot and then
yep.
doing
Yep.
another. And so over in a year, I would dedicate myself to at least one shoot a month. And that's not a lot. That's not a lot. It's just one a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with one a month, I just learned one at a time. And towards the 4th year mark, I thought, okay, so then I think I understand what I'm trying to say, and I think I have the technical skills. And from having the technical skills, I then decided, well, let's do it.
Yeah, and it feels like everything has kind of moved to YouTube for photography, which has been great. But the way that platform is set up really encourages people to make videos about gear and, things that people like to click on. And so it becomes harder to find information about just starting a business, the boring things that aren't as click worthy. Yeah. So Creative Live, I mean, that's kind of where you got your early information.
Yes, that's where I got my early information. So I think to your point, I was focusing on the skills because you actually do need the skills to
Yeah.
transfer into commercial photography.
Yeah.
And people always think when I was doing weddings, I thought this, and it wasn't until I became a commercial photographer that I was like, oh, okay, oh, young Jedi. I was like, I thought, okay, I can do weddings. This year I did 60 weddings. So I think that I'm now ready. You do everything when you're doing weddings. You're totally ready to become
Yeah.
a commercial photographer, but it's not the same at all.
Mm.
It really isn't. And the reason why it's not the same, a commercial photography shoot is a really tightly choreographed dance. It's
Okay.
there's so much that goes into it
Yeah.
from beginning to end.